So you touched on mental health and trauma a bit there, and I'm a big believer in when it comes to a lot of the issues we see in society today, certainly related to crime, to sexual violence, to a lot of things like that. The core of it is traumatized, unhappy, abused kids a lot of the time. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse. If you've had a shit childhood, then you go on to do awful things because you get to the stage where you know right from wrong. But I found that psychedelics have helped me quite a lot. I don't know what your thoughts are when it comes to psychedelics, but whenever I've done them, if you imagine therapy is like peeling back the layers slowly, psychedelic is like a spearhead and you go right into that core of what is painful, and it's distressing and it can be scary. And a lot of the times is you are remembering things, you are back in that place where such awful things have happened which you potentially have completely forgotten about. And if you want to get a little more deeper into it, why would the government allow such things like psychedelics, such as magic mushrooms, which grow out of the ground, if they know, well, if you take psychedelics, you don't need antidepressants, you don't need anti-anxiety medication, you don't need to spend hundreds or thousands on therapy, you don't need to be in the system, you don't need to medicalize. If you can take something that grows freely from the ground and you can go on an introspective journey, granted caveat, you would I'm not advocating someone just goes out and takes loads of psychedelics.
No.
They are powerful. Do it in a safe environment. So I'm not advocating for reckless use, but I believe that such things like that certainly have their place in medicine. And I know there are countries out there which are doing work with that sort of thing. But when it comes to things such as post-traumatic stress disorder, complex PTSD, I think there's definitely a place for that kind of a medicine. And also, Victoria, I think as well what we need to do is when someone is struggling with a mental health or is struggling with trauma, what is it we say to do? Speak to somebody about it. So have a community of people around you. Get outside, get into sunlight, eat better food rather than the shit which is in the supermarkets or the crap which you can just order on Uber Eats. It's going back to natural remedies. And I think it there's a big push from the organizations that want to almost pull you away from that and say, no, don't take that. Take this antidepressant, which can cause a side effect is suicidal ideation. And it's getting back to that natural way of being. So what's your thoughts on the natural remedies when it comes to healing? This video was sponsored by my best-selling police memoir, The Job's Fuck Secret Diary of a Police Officer. After 10 years in the police service, I finally left and I decided I need to speak out. This book does a deep dive into police corruption, the real reason why the police force is falling apart, and things you will never hear in the mainstream media. You can check it out in the link in the description of this video. You could also grab some merchandise and support me on Patreon. And now, without further ado, enjoy the video.
When I was younger, I used to judge anyone that took drugs. I've never taken drugs. Do you remember? Well, how old are you? What year were you born?
I'm 32.
Right. So, you won't remember the billboard of Leah Betts.
No.
So Leah Betts died of an ecstasy overdose in the 90s, and it was all over the billboards. And she had like all her tubes on in ICU, and it scared me to death. And I never, ever, ever took drugs, and I never smoked. I never did anything, and I never really drank alcohol. I was always very fit and healthy. I did lots of athletics and cross country and stuff. When I started this healing journey, I went into deep healing. And I mean that I was journaling every day, all day. And I went into the darkest parts of me, the stuff I've done to people, the stuff I've said to people, the stuff I've said about women in midwifery, or I might have engaged in just slagging off colleagues, and I don't know why I even did that or do that about people, because I thought I'm just judging myself. So what I decided to do was really rip apart that, just using healing. So for me, it was about going into a meditation for half an hour with non-touch healers. However, was it early this year, someone gave me some mushrooms and said, I think you should do this. I was really apprehensive because I'd never done anything like that before. And she gave them to me and I took them. Now, I didn't take very many, so apparently I didn't take enough. I only took a very small amount. But what did happen to me was when I was in bed and I was lying down, it felt like I was meditating, and it was like a reel of camera images of my whole life just reeling in my brain really fast. And I was like, slow down, I can't catch them all. And I was like trying to remember what they all were. And
Mhm.
it was like somebody was talking to me, or I was talking to myself in another realm. And I remember going, this is real. I know this is happening because I can hear the dog barking. So I knew I was in some
Mhm.
other realm of myself. Now, the only other way I can describe that, Jay, is that when I gave birth to my third son 14 years ago, I astral projected out of my body. I was watching myself give birth from the other side of the room. I watched my husband sat there with me, my ex-husband, in between his legs, giving birth to my son. My dressing gown was right beside him. I knew exactly the layout. It was the most, and I didn't talk about it because I thought I was a weirdo. Now, what I realized then is, how do we not allow women to ever be in that power? Get them on their backs, lie them on a bed, and give them loads of meds and lower their vibration. So I'm at a place in my life now where I don't judge anybody now. And my friend said to me yesterday, she was cutting my hair. She was like, "You're the only person that never judges." Like, I used to be terribly judgy. I do not. If somebody said to me, "I'm gonna do this and do that," I'd be like, "If that's your journey, you've got to go and do it." That's not me consenting or agreeing. However, now I'm like, right, what is growing on the earth has a purpose. Everything that is growing has a purpose. And if you've got to put law on a mushroom, you're hiding something behind it. If you've got to put law on freedom of speech, you're hiding something behind it. So I'm realizing now everything has a deeper meaning. So I'm absolutely with you. So if you saw my bookshelf, it's just filled with mushrooms of the UK, herbs, uh, you know, um, Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. I've got it all. Edible
Yeah.
fruits of the growth of the UK. So I'm literally like, right, we need to go back a step, and we now need to start learning what happened over here.
I think MDMA is having a lot of research done into it with how it can support people who've got PTSD. Now, because drugs have been demonized,
Mm.
we've lost 50, 60 years of potential groundbreaking
Yeah,
research. And of course, the thinking behind that is, well, if someone can have a quick fix, or not necessarily a quick fix, but someone can have a much more natural way of healing,
mm.
then that isn't going to benefit the company's bottom line.
Yes,
Now, with the mushrooms, I would always caveat it as saying, you know, they are powerful. You need to be careful. So and make sure you do it in a safe environment. But I would like to see the day where psilocybin therapy, mushroom therapy is brought much more mainstream because even just from an anecdotal, I mean, I had a friend, I say had a friend, I still have a friend who was addicted to nicotine, they're addicted to cannabis, they had quite a few unhealthy habits, and they had a big mushroom trip, and the things what they experienced, the things they came into contact with, they literally put down their vape and their weed and they never touched them again.
wow.
Now, in order for them to get, yeah, exactly. So, in order for them to get to that point, in the traditional way, that would take a lot of therapy, and also he's managed to repair his relationship with his father because he was able to go back. There are things which I've had happen to me when I was younger, or growing up, and things which I'd forgotten about, or things that were quite painful to remember. That spearhead of an experience where it was like going right into my subconscious, into my psyche, allowed me to actually stand with that version of myself, that younger child, and say, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I've got you,
Mm.
everything's fine. And I remember waking up, I had the experience, I was at my friend's house, and he was the sober friend who was there. And I came out of it and I was crying. I was near enough hysterical crying just because of all this repressed stuff had just come out. And it was just and then I opened my mouth and just all this stuff which I'd forgotten about, stuff which had happened, just came pouring out. And it felt like a suitcase which I'd been carrying around for years had just suddenly become so much lighter and so much better. And
Wow.
I can see why they're illegal in two ways. One, because of the effect they can have on you, and two, because of the healing they can do. Like I said, I do hope that there is a future where more herbal remedies and more natural remedies are brought in. So you mentioned a bit there about when you went into midwifery and you found that you were getting a lot of illnesses as a result, or when you left. Why do you think these illnesses started happening?
I wasn't honoring my true self. So I talk about this in a lot of my podcasts. As soon as I went into midwifery, it was like the oppression was immediate. It was so overwhelming. And I became really nervous. I became really fearful because I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to be rejected. It raised a big insecurity in me that I wanted to prove to my father and my sisters and my mum that I could make something of myself, that I wasn't just a
Is
mum.
that one of the blockers to leaving as well?
I think that the because the healing journey had started in the 21, I didn't leave to the 24. I was at that point of I ain't fucking scared of you anymore. That's exactly where it got to. I ain't scared of any of you. I'm not scared of you, or the whole system. I'm not scared of you. And I released every bit of fear. It was like going, and I just went, I'm done. I'm done. Now, people will be like, but she didn't. People have said, oh, she's not being honest. People don't know what I went through silently behind closed doors during that time. And it's very hard for me to do that without writing the book that I'm writing. But I can't write the book until I've cleared the fact that I was called a baby killer, because I'm not going to sell a book if I'm a baby killer. I'm not going to, it's not going to have its same impacts. I want to get that out of the way so that can be encompassed into the book. But I believe everything you do is a mirror of you, a projection of you. So if I'm for instance, I used to only buy everything brand new and everything named. Now I won't even go near the supermarkets and the shops. I'll go to charity shops and I will reuse and then look at something and go and have a feel of where it's come from and go, that's come from a good home. That's come from a nice energy. And I will take it that way. So I'm learning that it doesn't matter I've got mismatched furniture. It doesn't matter that I didn't take my children on holiday this year. It doesn't matter that I don't have a nice kitchen. It doesn't matter that I don't have Botox. I don't care. So I realized that midwifery was no longer mirroring the woman I was becoming, which was my true authentic self. So I think when you are in midwifery, the statistics are high anyway, because you're working night shifts, you're working irregular shift patterns, you're working in a high acute stressful environment, and midwifery labor ward is a bit like a mini A&E. So it is highly intense. You've got to constantly be thinking. So if you're then not eating for 12.5 hour shifts and you're not drinking at times, and sometimes you don't even wee all day, your kidneys, your heart, your body is in a constant stress response, a fight or flight. And then you do that for 2 days in a row, then you go off for one day, and then you go back for 2 nights or whatever. You are ill and you are sick. So I had never really suffered with anything other than the odd UTI in my life, so urinary infection. When I became a midwife, within 18 months, I had type 1 diabetes, and it's not gone away.
Jesus.
So I wear a Libra. And I was devastated because I was like, but I love my job and I'm really good at my job and I never get stressed and I cope really well. But actually, my organs were saying, Kumi, you're really not. And I just thought, I've got to get out of here. I'm going to die. I'm going to end up dead.
You are absolutely echoing similar experiences to me. I mean, I was never diagnosed with like an illness such as diabetes, which is fucking awful. Like, I'm sorry that's happened. Um, but it's there's a few things here. So the effect on the body, what stress has, cannot be understated. Like, and it's certainly trauma as well. Working in somewhere like that, you're seeing amazing things, children being born, but you're also seeing a lot of pain. You're seeing a lot of suffering. You're seeing death. And you mentioned about being accused of harming a child or killing a baby. Like, we'll obviously get onto that as well because that's a disgusting thing to be accused of. But there's a wonderful book which I've read and I love, and it's called The Body Keeps Score, and it's a book what talks about the effect what trauma has on somebody. It isn't just a mental issue. It physiologically affects you. It affects your nervous system. It affects your brain chemistry, your neuroplasticity. Children that have multiple adverse childhood experiences, their brains develop different, which is one of the arguments for like narcissism or psychopathy. Their brains are just wired differently as a survival mechanism because of what they have to deal with. But like when you was talking about, you were seen as quite resilient, and it's the whole thing of, I don't want to admit that I'm suffering, I don't want to admit that I'm stressed, it's just part of the job. One of the big things I do is I speak to people in the NHS or speak to people in the police and say, you're not a fucking robot. If you are dealing with awful things all the time, it's going to have an effect on you. I had a colleague message me the other day and say, next colleague messaged me and say, I've seen all the stuff you're doing. Just thought I'd let you know. I went to a hanging the other day. Never affected me before, but I can't stop thinking about it. And it's like, right, well, that's a sign that your body's saying to you, you're reaching that tipping point, you're reaching that limit of things going too much. And I was always hailed for my resilience because I could go to incidents and I'd be generally fine, or I'd be really well under stress. And if anything, I'd have a full workload, but then also be helping other people with theirs as well. So
Yes.
be increasing my own workload, giving support to people, because that's why we join these jobs. We want to help people, and that includes colleagues.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I walked into work one day. I'd never been off with stress. I was like, I'm too strong to be off with stress. I walked in and I literally sat down at my computer. I got told what I need to do that day, and it wasn't anything major, and it was just something snapped. And before I knew it, I was shaking. I was on the verge of tears. I was having an absolute panic attack, and I went, I need to get out of here. So I went and spoke to my supervisor, and I said, I'm going home. Like something's not right. And I spent 2, 3 weeks off work as a result. And it was, but then when I went back into work, I was made to feel bad for going
Oh,
off with
the stress.
stress, that I hadn't spoken to anyone sooner. My workload wasn't actually that bad. She
Gaslight,
put out
gaslight,
loads of graphs
gaslight.
and shits.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the cheeky fucker turned around and said, but if you need anything in the future, just let me know. I'm like, why am I going to come to you when you've just made me feel like shit for having some time off due to mental health? I'm not going to do that. So,
It's the subtle corrosion. It's these subtle
yeah,
comments and the corrosive nature of, you know, I had a panic attack in the car. I've never had a panic attack in my life. I drove to work and I was sat in the car, but I couldn't breathe.
fucking
I couldn't get out of the
terrifying.
car. What's happening to me?
Yeah, you think the world is about to end.
It,
It's like a sense of doom.
horrendous. I remember going to my boss and I said, when I come to work, right? So I use this analogy. When I'm at home, I'm like the mum. I'm the only woman in the house because I'm surrounded by boys and men. And they all respect me. They all look up to me. They all love me very much. And I feel very loved at home. I feel, I've got a very good attachment with the boys. If they want to go off camping for the weekend, I leave them. My son's just been to Board Masters. He's only 16. And I rang him twice just to say, are you safe and are you well? Because whatever his journey is his. I don't have a controlling attachment of them. But when I was driving to work one morning, I'd left my home as this really strong woman of, right, they've all got their lunches, they've all got their school clothes ready. I'm going to work early at 6:30 in the morning. They're all asleep. I'm going, and I drive to work, and as I'm getting closer, I shrink as a person. It's like something. The energy in my house is like this, like woo, all around me, and then as I get to the building sucks every bit of me. And I said to my boss about this, and she said, is that an us problem or a you problem?
Fuck off.
That's what she said. And I was like, and it was these little subtleties, and I thought, for being such a, right, so you know that type 1 diabetes, as a police officer, if you've got type 1 diabetes, you cannot carry a firearm, right? I think I know that.
Yeah.
You can't be in control of a firearm because your diabetes is too up and down, right? And you, as a paramedic, you will never be able to be first responder in the car on your own. You'll always have to be the second. So diabetes is serious, yeah? So I was in theatre with a patient about to have a cesarean section, and I was having a hypo. And when I told the doctor, he went and told my boss, because I couldn't leave because the midwife has to be there for the baby if there's no obstetrician doctor. Because there is a baby in a uterus that needs checking and only 2 people can do it, me or the doctor. So he went out, and my manager came back and was like, we haven't got anyone to relieve you. I'm like, I'm having a hypo. So if a woman walks into triage on labour ward, or a patient walks into A&E having a hypo, it's a medical emergency. But because it's me and I'm
Yeah.
a staff member, in the numbers, in the ratio, in the system that's corrupt and crap and terrible and not compassionate, just die on the floor, Victoria. We'll pick you up when you're dead. It was disgusting.
I remember my partner had a really serious chest infection, to the point where she was gasping for air. She was in bed gasping for
Oh,
air.
God.
And I called at work. I was dressed to go to work, and I rang my sergeant at the time and said, "I'm not coming in. My girlfriend is like, she might need an ambulance." And their response was, "Well, we're short staffed if you don't come in. Who's going to pick up prisoners and who's going to attend incidents? And what about your workload?" And then they said, "Well, you either let me have it off as dependency leave, or it's like just an unauthorized absence. But I'm telling you now, I'm not coming in." "Oh well, what can she not just call an ambulance? We can only let you off on dependency leave if it's an emergency." Sorry, if my partner gasping in bed for breath who can't breathe is not an emergency, I don't know what is an emergency. Fuck your organisation. My partner comes first. Somebody else will be sat in my chair and will be doing my same work. So when it comes to the public, yes, of course. What, you can't breathe? 999 on ambulance. We'll get there. What, you're a staff member? You're a number? Oh well,
Go
tough
and
shit.
die.
Exactly. What's mental health support like in the NHS from your experience?
Terrible. So I'll give you a couple of incidences. I saw the worst shoulder dystocia delivery where the baby's shoulder gets stuck in the pelvis and the head is out and you cannot get the rest of the body out. You've got a cord which is in tight in the vagina against the baby's body and will have very minimal oxygen for around 7 to 10 minutes. It's about 7 minutes. Oh my God, for 11 minutes they couldn't get this baby out. It was horrific. There is no debrief for such traumas. I have been at the birth of, I couldn't even tell you that many baby losses that have already passed. No debrief. No one emails you to check you're okay. No one rings you to check you got home safe. Then you're at a delivery where a woman bleeds on the floor like a hose pipe on the floor, her blood volume leaving her body. No one rings you to see if you're okay. So when you start thinking about your body in a frequency, in a vibration, and all your organs and all of your everything is vibrating at a certain frequency, if it's diminished, every organ will go into some sort of shock. And then you're adding in every memory, every experience, every thought, every emotion. You don't forget the woman's scream. You don't forget a partner's face. Like, these men are traumatized. A guy fainted on my back once. I was like, ah, like he was leaning on me. There is so much, but what you're doing is you're like, head down, pen in your hand. Right, I've got to do OBS here, CTG there. I've got to go and do antibiotics here. I've got to go and do the drug round here. Oh, I need to have a wee. And then the joke is, I'm going to treat myself to a wee. That is the joke of a midwife.
Yeah,
I'm
we say that.
going to treat
I'll
myself.
treat myself to some food.
What the hell are we doing, Jay?
I know, eat it as quick as you can before the radio goes off again, and you need to. Oh, it's been 10 hours. What you doing? I'm just having some food. I've not stopped all day. You can eat when you get home. You needed. It's like, yeah, I understand I'm needed, but I'm probably going to collapse at the minute because I've not had a drink all day.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also when it comes to lack of sleep as well.
Yeah.
I found it was almost like a competition. Who had the least amount of sleep on a shift? Police driving around a police car at twice, 3 times the speed limit, underslept. It's like having a bottle of wine before work.
Yeah.
You know, the effect on your motor system and your neurons and everything else in your body is the same. So if you're absolutely chronically underslept and you're stressed out your eyeballs and you're barely eating, I wouldn't want you near my wife when she's having a baby
No.
because you're not in the right frame of mind.
No. And what we're going to realize is that all these systems, they're all crumbling at the same time. Policing, NHS, nursing, midwifery, education, the civil servants, the judiciary systems, the banking systems, because they're all led by the same ideology at the top. Like, people think they're all individual and like, oh, midwifery's got its own its own platform. But the people that investigate and then do the new inquiries of the maternity services just make it more task focused, less people and compassionate, which causes more death and harm. And I think I said to you the other day, £27 billion has been claimed from women and families and through harm and death since 2019. 2019, 27
So that's
billion.
what, 4 billion a year?
That's
4 or 5 billion a year?
that is insane money. Like that makes
That's
up
I think that's a
51%.
tenth of the budget.
Yeah, and makes up 51% of all NHS claims. So cardiology, orthopedics, oncology, pediatrics, maternity is 51%. Why? Why not turn that 27 billion into care? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, into more staff and better facilities and better, like, yeah, it's insane. 27 billion, that is a
And you
stupid
get
amount of
you
money.
get less
And then
money for a baby death and a mother death than you do if there is a disability or a harm.
so that's foul.
It's vile. And no one gets justice.